Good day, family. I am so grateful to have you here in this moment, in this time with me right now. There is no greater time than the present, the present, the now that we have to enjoy one another, that we have been given in this moment to sit and relax and to allow truth and wisdom to pour into us. For I am a vessel, and I am to pour into you that which has been poured into me for the enlightening of your soul on this spiritual journey that we are on in this earth. My name is Jashana Drake, and I'm your empowerment educator. I'm so grateful to have you with me once again and this platform. I am so grateful to my family, to my husband and my sons for allowing this to take place on a regular basis. I am grateful for them to be able to share their wife and mommy with you, and I'm so grateful to be able to share with you all the things that have been given to me and that I am able to pour into you and to share with you these things that are actually working. When I say that they're working, I truly am sharing with you principles that I have implemented in my own life that are working for my abundance, my joy, my bountifulness in my spirit, and therefore I am attracting those things to me. Am I saying everything is peachy keen? Am I saying that there will not be times that there will be discord? No, that's not what I'm saying, and that's not what I'm offering. However, what I'm offering to you are new nia, new purpose, perspectives on things that may arise that we will not have control over. And for those things that we do have control over, and that for years we have been taught that we don't have control over, that we will allow the wonderful highness of awareness to take over us, and that we will be able to not be fearful, but to be willfully pushed into flow and currency of abundance and greatness and powerfulness, and that we will no longer be fearful and afraid of the things that we don't understand, because we are seeking knowledge, because without knowledge we perish. In this particular session, family, I am going to jump right in to what we usually do in every session. And we're going to gauge where we are with our closeness, in regards to our closeness with God. We understand now, for all of you who have been following for the past sessions that we've had, that there is no such thing as being close with God. For since we have come to an agreement that we were created by the oneness and wholeness of the Creator, that means that we are in God and God is in us. There is no separation from that great, powerful frequency that we all are on. We are growing into understanding and understanding the aspects of that one great Creator. We are growing into having respect and honor for those things that even came before us, just because we have the mind and the ability to have will and choice, unlike all the other creatures that were created prior to us. We still honor and respect the fact that they came from the same Creator that we came from. We are growing in that knowledge, and we are learning in that knowledge, and we are settling ourselves into that knowledge and operating out of wisdom with the knowledge that we have. Everybody, in this particular session, we are going to dive into more of the idea of I am because you are. You are because I am. Once again, get your new Nia notebooks out and be ready to take notes, and let's get ready to heal. I am because you are. You are because I am. This concept is a concept that was taught and given to those of our ancient ancestry in ancient times, in our African DNA. This was a concept that was not based on individualism. It was more based on the idea that when I hurt, you hurt. When I am prosperous, you're prosperous. When I am ill, you're ill. When I am joyful, you're joyful. When I am reaping, you're reaping. When I weep, you weep. This was the concept that kept our people, our ancestors, going for so many years. This is what kept communities, tribes, clans together for so many years. This is what the foundation of so many families were built on, was this concept. Within this concept of I am because you are, and you are because I am, we are able to grow in abundance, and we're able to be fruitful and multiply, and we're thinking with the oneness mindset rather than the perverse mindset. The oneness of the universe, meaning one, all coming together into one tune, one sound, one motion, and not the perverse mindset of division. We all come to understand in this mindset, I am because you are, and you are because I am. We are held at a standard, to a standard. And being held to a standard is simply meaning, in biblical times, in scriptures, and in ancient times, a standard was a totem pole, if you will. If you can imagine for a moment with me a wooden pole that was designed to hold the images of what each clan or each tribe represented. If some of you saw the movie Black Panther and you saw the different tribes, the panther would have probably been on that totem pole or on that standard. So when it says lift up a standard, this is something that was representative of the people who and what they stood for, what they did, and the values that they had and their actions within the whole concept of the environment that they were in. Okay, so when we are lifting a standard and we stand and have a standard, these things are represented through what we do, what we say, how we pass on tradition and culture to our youth and our future. So with I am because you are because I am, it takes away the idea that you are alone, ALONE, and it puts you in the wholeness and oneness of I am all one, ALLONE. There is no longer an idea of someone, even if they are orphaned or widowed or poor. There's no such thing as them being alone. They are resting and secure in the fact that they are all one. For the one who is the most abundant still views the one who has less as being a part of them. So no one is left out in this mindset. No one is blaming anyone or anything in this mindset. If you have a son, which is who I refer to as what I refer to my brothers, my fathers, my sons, my uncles, the men of our community as. If you have a son who is not able to provide for his family, whether it be through injury, illness, or just not being able to reap a bountiful harvest, you have, and he's not able to provide for his family in the manner that he would love to do that. You have those who are abundant in their harvest and in their lifestyle, giving freely because they have an understanding and an understanding that because I am because you are, and you are because I am, I give to you because I give to myself, and you in turn would do the same thing, because this is what is embedded into their culture and into their being, into their DNA. We were living in this particular mindset at one time. Am I saying that there were not wars? Am I saying that there were not discord? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that at all. However, what I'm saying is there was a time that when problems or situations or issues arose, that there was an order. There was a divine order that allowed everyone to commune properly and to decide what would be best and beneficial for the ongoing of life in a natural manner. Now, with that, let's look at how we view our lives today and how we view each other today. Today, it is very evident that we are seeing that we are not living in a universal mindset, a one turn, one sound, one motion mindset. In almost every aspect and every area of our lives, we find ourselves in a perverse, divided mindset. Totally divided in almost everything that we do. Even for those of us who say that we come together in the name of love, which means nature. Name means nature. So when we say that we come together in the nature of love, a lot of us still are very divided in that mindset as well, because we all have very different views on what love is, the action of it. All of us, most of us, are so caught up in titles and words that are very abstract in their meanings, meaning that it could mean 1,000 things, or it's left up to interpretation. When we're in a concrete mindset, as our ancestors once were, we have a picture and an image of an idea that can be done, that has an action involved with it. Are we getting this? So allow me to address something that has been on my spirit for a while, and something that has been that my attention has been attracted to when I am in my dealings with my fellow sons and sisters. On one hand, we have our stars, our women, who find it difficult to shine in a climate or an environment that looks at them as being thoughts, whores, bitches, sluts, problem makers, violent, hard to deal with, attitude driven, extra emotional beings. And on the other hand, we have our sons, who find it very hard to rise and shine their energy into us and on us, because they have the stigmas and standards that have been set before them falsely of being dogs, cheaters, no good, lazy, disrespectful, horrible. Any words that you can come up with, this is what has been given to our men, our sons. It is no mistake that a lot of our imagery that we've been forced to view and see has played into a lot of these stigmas and standards that we have been forced to identify with and live up to a certain extent. Almost every movie that we've seen the images of these particular ideas and stigmas being played out on the big screen or on our television screen. We see them being played out in our songs, in our music. And it's very disheartening for the soul of a people to rise above these things and shine as bright as suns and stars when we are giving these images to live and model ourselves after. Image means a lot. Image does make a difference. With the concept of I am because you are, and you are because I am, It's a natural balance and law of things. So whether we realize it or not, even in this state that we are in, this sick, hurt, ill, diseased state, this state of disaster. To be in a disaster means that we are away from the stars, or away from the function of the star that shines. So in this disastrous state, we can see I am because you are, and you are because I am really taking effect. If you for a moment think about this, in the last session we talked about why do we keep getting what we don't want, and we talked about attraction and the fact that when we attract someone to us in our lives, in our being, in our environment, it is because we are attracting exactly what we are. In some way, shape, or form, we are attracting something that may be beneficial or something that may be detrimental. Either way, we are attracting exactly the state of being that we are. Some of us may say, well, no, I was good to him and I was good to her, and I was this and I was that to them, and they treated me wrong. That you will be correct in the treatment. However, it does not mean that you were at your optimal state and that you were at your optimal performance. Why? Because of the idea that we have been hurt, and many of us continue to operate through hurtness, through illness, through dis-ease, through disaster, and we have no idea how to get past these things. We have absolutely no knowledge, no wisdom, and no tools on how to get ourselves out of this way. And when we're constantly being bombarded with images and those likeness, we are continuing to be hurt and more hurt and more hurt. If you can imagine for a moment being in a car crash with other people in the car crash. Okay, imagine for a moment that it was a head-on collision. And imagine that you have the two cars that have the head-on collision. And within that, the passengers all are suffering injuries, neck injuries, broken legs, broken limbs. No one has died. But you have the trauma, the fear, the reaccounts that are happening, the terror of everything that took place right before all of that happened. And then now you have the hurt. Now, some of those passengers may come out with injuries. However, their pain levels may be different. You may ask two passengers who have the same break in the same leg and who are experiencing the same hurt and injury. One may require more medication or more time to recuperate than the other. One may scream bloody murder and say, hey, I can't take this. And the other may take it and go on, and it will look as if there is no pain. We all experience pain in different ways. Now imagine for a moment with those two cars being in that head-on collision, and the drivers of those cars being disheveled and confused as to how did this happen. And imagine sometimes that there's blame, there's chaos going on. You did this, no, it was your fault, it was you, no, you should have been watching, you should have been looking, no, what you should have did was made sure you turned on your signal. No, I did see a signal. No, I did turn on my signal. No, you didn't turn on your signal because your back tail light was your front tail light was broken, or all these different things are going on with these two vehicles that have been in this horrible crash. Now, all the while this is going on, no one is listening to each other. No one is willing to listen to one another, because the biggest thing now is to make sure we get the blame in and make sure we prove that I was wrong or I wasn't wrong and that you were wrong, or vice versa. This is what's happening with our sons and our stars. This is what's happening between our men and our women. This is what's happening that's breaking down our families. This idea that you were wrong, no, you were to blame. No one's paying attention to the fact that there was a huge pothole in the middle of the street. No one's paying attention to the fact that the stop sign had been removed. No one's paying attention to the fact that there was the stoplight that immediately went out. No one's paying attention to the outside environmental influences that have caused this particular crash. And so from that, the acknowledgement of the environment and the influence is not in play, and not at play because we are so busy focusing on blaming the other person involved in the same incident that we've been involved in. This is what's happening to our sons and our stars. This is what's happening to our relationship. In the previous session and video, we discussed the idea of our solar system, our suns and our planets being our older siblings, and we coming from the same mindset, having the same particles as stars and the same makeup. Isn't it a beautiful thing to be created from a creator that we can look and marvel at and understand and have an understanding that we all come from the same being, the same thing. And so with that, there is a direct relationship with the sun and men. That's where we get the idea that there is a resurrection. And we found out that with every sunrise, that the man has a rise that happens with his genitalia. That is a direct connection to his power and his source and energy that he comes from. With the women, we came to an understanding and an understanding that we as women are guided, as sons are guided, as stars are experiencing the same flow that the moon has with the tides of the oceans and the waves of the oceans and the turning of those things. And we have an understanding, if we didn't learn this in science, which this is why most things should not have been separated. This is why all teachings, science, mathematics, could be taught and they together, and they should not have been separated into a perverse mind, so those two people could control these mindsets. When we look at the fact that the moon is reflecting the light of the sun, we can come to an understanding with the concept of I am because you are, and you are because I am. That sons, my brothers, my fathers, my sons, my uncles, my cousins, my male cousins, get an understanding of this. When you witness a broken, unhealed moon, a star, a sister, a woman, a mother, an aunt, understand and understand that the law of this still maintains its truth. We hurt and are broken because you are hurt and are broken. Let's not forget the road that we have traveled. Let us not forget what we have had to endure. Let us not forget the hurt and the injury. No, you may not have the same pain, but we all are suffering the injury and the incident. Let us not forget what caused this great collision. All the things that we've been through, all the hurt, all the pain, all the suffering, the raping of a culture and a people. We have been caused in a communal mindset, a communal disease, a communal illness has been infecting us for so long as a people. So sons, when you see your sisters in a state of illness and sickness, what you may consider bitchy, crazy, what you may consider a thought, actions, hoeing actions, prostitution, whatever it is that you may consider and that you may will to condemn in that moment, think for a second. For more than a second, take a couple of minutes to imagine what that star is going through and why she's going through it. You may say, well, hey, I'm not a bad man. I'm one of the good ones. Let's examine that. How good and beneficial can you be under a system that we've been under for so long? Think about this. Are you operating through your injury? Have you acknowledged the fact that you even had to go down a road that's full that had the biggest pothole imaginable, and that had no signs or warning signs or any cautionary signs or any detour signs? Can you for a moment focus on that? And with the law that I am because you are, and you are because I am, and here we are as your stars and your moon reflecting the light in which you are, think for a moment that the energy of our sons being broken, being hurt, being told that they are less than, that you are less than, the image given to us that you don't want to be great fathers, great husbands, the image that's been poured into us from exploitation movies of the 70s, that all you want to do is be pimps and hustlers. And so seeing that image allowed us to reflect that through us. So since we've been seeing the image of our man willing to be a hustler or a pimp or a drug dealer or something outside of his greatness and his potential to be great, for a moment, let it cross your mind and cross your heart and your soul to think that maybe we adapted. Maybe this was an adaptation. Maybe this was an evolution into what we've been given. Maybe this was something that we felt we had to become. For a moment, let's think about that. Maybe we felt that you wouldn't look at us unless we had everything showing. Maybe because what we heard back then and what we continue to see is that the joy and pleasure in your spirit begins to rise when you see one of us half naked or completely naked, and exposing ourselves not in the natural beauty of who we are, but exposing ourselves because we would like to give out of that which we don't truly have an understanding of. We would rather give you our breasts in a lustful manner, and in a manner that does not speak to all the honor and glory that these breasts represent, that they are the life-giving force, that even our experience that we went through with the people that had us enslaved and oppressed, that they even looked at these breasts to feed their own. But now we have been subjected to exposing our comfort and our life-giving pillows and clouds of joy and nurturing over to a perverse mind. The Hugh Hefners, the Larry Flints, the other mindsets that perverted all those things. Think for a moment before we call another sister, another star out of her name. Because recall that we are reflections. We are reflections. That's my little son, my middle son walking by. Remember, I'm not in the studio, I'm at home, and this is life that's happening. So get that in our mindsets. Let's get that clear. Why is this bitch so crazy? Y'all, these women is crazy out here. I hear it. I read it all the time. Bros before hoes. What mindset is that? Is that the universal mindset of I am because you are at its optimal being, producing bountiful amounts of joy? Something that we can pass on to our young stars and young sons? Or is that a mindset of a people or a concept that was meant to destroy us and had destroyed them? Think about it for a moment. I had a conversation dealing with the minds, the idea and the image that we see a lot of our stars in at this moment, with the hair bonnets and the pajama pants and the slippers. I know we've seen it. It's all across the country. So everyone can have a good understanding of what I'm referring to. So I meditated on it for a moment because it was something that was a little bothersome to me, and I had to figure out why. What was so bothersome to me? Because I couldn't quite figure out where it came from. I didn't know if it was was a memo that was sent out that said, okay, everybody put on a bonnet and put on some pajama pants and put on your house shoes and go everywhere you need to go, whether it's the mall, whether it's the grocery store, whether it's the gas station, whether it is at your child's school. Let's just make sure you put on a bonnet and house shoes and slippers. And I do recall a time when growing up that you had grandmothers or mothers that would have their rollers and their scarves, and there's always been a certain amount of relaxation, if you will, from the extra beautification of who we are as stars and as women. However, in seeing this, and even growing up, if your mama or your grandmama had the rollers in their hair, you better believe they were going to be taken off at certain places. So I began to sit in that for a moment and wonder, where is this coming from now? How, in this 2018, where did we get this mindset and this idea from? Stars. That is so dimming, and it presents such an image. And as I meditated, the Spirit began to deal with me and take me into I am because you are, and you are because I am. I said, okay. Now, for years, it's been other culture, the dominant culture in this society that we live in. It's been their mindset of feminism and breaking away from their men and fighting for their rights. This has been something that has not been an issue with us as melanated women, for we worked alongside our men for years without a problem. Without a problem. without an issue. We did what we had to do together in this particular environment that we've been in. And so the misconception and the myth that the black woman was not with her man and that the man needed some kind of foot on her neck was something that has been given to us and force-fed to us as stars, as melanated stars for so long. So I began to sit in, okay, we are action and we are word, and we do action and word because of our environment and influence and imagery. I began to think back to the 90s, back in the Boys in the Hood era, and I began to recall how the style of dress began to change. And I recall having myself the baggy pants, and most of our outfits and garments that we wore could be interchanged with our fellow brothers, our fellow sons. And I can recall during the era of Boys in the Hood, and in that movie being so pivotal into our society at that moment, that when our son Ice Cube wore his slippers outside and he was pouring out his beer, and I can recall so many of our sons recreating that image in their attire. They didn't just take it as I'm getting up early and my brother passed and I got on my house shoes and I'm pouring out a 40 and I'm walking over to see. No, this became something that they did on a regular basis. The slippers. I began to think about it for a moment, and I began to think about the whole era when crack cocaine made its big impact in our environment and in our lives, and what breakdown that did, and what it did to us, and what welfare and being in the system connected in that way, our sons being sent to the system in the penitentiary system, and our stars being left into the welfare system, and all of it began to boom, 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 make connections for me. And I said, I am because you are. I am as the moon and as a star, reflecting my sun, my energy. I take on who you are at that moment to identify with you and to be as close as I possibly can with you. So what we find is oftentimes, more than not, that we are in a position that we as stars don't feel good about seeing our sons hurt. We don't feel good about seeing our stars in a penitentiary system. And so somehow, subconsciously, we take on those roles. We might put on their shirt. We might put on their pants. We wear their energy. Somehow, some way, we begin to adapt to what it is that we're missing. And then from that is born the concepts of, I don't need no man, ain't no niggas no good, this ain't. Those concepts are born. And then for those men who are those sons who are coming out of the penal system and they can't get work, or they've been so used to being drug dealers or being in this game in the streets, and they don't have the will to go for a regular 9 to 5 and what has been given to them, because they're so used to doing things on their own. What happens with our stars and the energy there is that I, as a star, as the reflection, the moon, as a reflection of your energy, will find myself not wanting to overpower you. Yeah, the songs that are coming out, the red bottoms and all, that has its place. Why? Because I can get my own. I'm independent. I don't need no man, so I can buy my own car, buy my own house. I can do this all by myself. That's the other side of filling in the gap for what has been missing all of these years. I am because you are. You are because I am in full effect. However, not being beneficial to the growth and the abundance and the bountifulness and the joy of our families and building our families. So therefore, we have this breakdown of what's happening. So when you see another star with a bonnet, with house shoes, with pajama pants, get an understanding of what she probably has as a sun in her life. What energy is probably shining in her life? And what would she look like walking in every day without her bonnet on, without her house shoes or her pajama pants? What would she be if he has his attire that is not totally representing that royalness and regalness that he is? What's the difference? He has a do-rag. He has his pants down below behind his buttocks. He's walking like he's had a bowel movement. Doesn't look like he's about any business at that moment. Why should she not look like what she's looking like with her bonnet undone, her house shoes, her pajama pants? What does she have to balance with? What do we have to balance each other with? So if we can get an understanding of both of us have been involved in a collision and in a wreck that was not caused by us. It was caused by an environment that we have been forced to endure in, and we have the concept and the ideas that have been given to us also falsely, that all we have to do is go into another broken system of hurt people or individuals with regurgitated information. In other words, regurgitated means you eating something and basically throwing it back up and offering it to someone. That's what we've been given in most of our religious mindsets and teachings. And here we are suffering and dying, full of dis-ease and disasters. We don't have an understanding of who we are. So with that, I offer you another perspective. I offer you a new Nia perspective, a new purpose. Nia meaning purpose, a Swahili word meaning purpose. I offer you the new perspective of I am because you are, and you are because I am. And I offer you the tool of building your your spiritual immune system. Immune means not open to public for service. That is what the word immune means. Not open to public for service. Building your spiritual immune system, as with your physical immune system, simply means that you are not to engage in a commune with any outside entity until you have built everything at its optimal place within, and then we are allowed to commune, and it can be a healthy commune. I allow myself to go through this healing, to acknowledge the fact that there has been hurt. No, maybe I didn't experience the same pain. The level of pain may have been different, but I had to acknowledge all the injury that came in my life. And that I kept attracting these things on so many different levels. And the insanity behind it is I expected something different simply because I was told that it was going to get better. And I continued to blame my fellow sons and my fellow stars. I continued to blame the sons that were in my life, the men, the relationships, the fathers, the uncles. I blamed those that I saw, those men who were broken and injured as well. I blamed my other stars, my other sisters, my fellow stars. I blamed them for being unclassy and for being whores, and trying to take somebody's man. And I blamed them without having an understanding and a true immune building session with myself. And I realized that I am because you are. And you are because I am. So if I'm hurt by what you are, that's because I'm hurt. I'm not healed. If I feel pain, anger, violence, depression, anything, any of those feelings are symptoms of hurt. So let's continue to grow. Let's continue to get ourselves healed. My name is Jashana Drake, and I am your spiritual empowerment educator. And I offer you to look me up, look up my services. I am offering a spiritual empowerment services through Nunia Life Educating and Consulting. You can contact me through Facebook, through Jashana Drake, or through Nunia Life Educating and Consulting. And I have these sessions ready. We have weekly one-on-one spiritual immune building sessions. And this is imperative. This is a process that we will work together on. This immune building system process will allow us to move into the idea of being communal with one another. And in being communal, then we can date properly. We can be in healthy engagements and healthy marriages, which will build healthy families, productive, abundant, bountiful families, a foundation that we can pass on to continue on in this earthly journey that we are in. Let's not continue to look for signs of an apocalypse. Stop it. Please stop. We as a human race, we've been doing this for so long. People who had no idea and took this stuff as these things literally. There have been earthquakes. There have been war. Now, I'm not saying that there have not been manipulations. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that certain powers that be are not manipulating the weather and so on and so forth. I'm not saying that. However, what I am saying is you better believe if they're making it happen that they're not looking for the apocalypse to end anything. Or they're not looking for the end of it. They're looking to end it for you and get you afraid and terrorized and get your frequency off so that you are not in universe mindset, that you are in perverse, divided mindset, constantly arguing over foolishness, constantly arguing over abstract ideas and concepts, constantly arguing over names and titles. Let's not do it. And for us, let's not get caught up in what they are doing. Please, let's let it go. Let's continue to heal. Let's continue to grow. And with that, I will leave you. I love you in action and in deed. And I will offer to my sons the platform to shine through and in. Shine through and in my presence. I honor you, my sons. I love you as a sister, as a mother, a nurturer. I honor you. My stars, my fellow stars, I adore you. I love you. I look at you as I look at myself. Y'all, I am because you are, and you are because I am. This is my time. Continue to grow. Till next time.